Jets fans, it was real. The Mike White experience yesterday was real. And oh, baby, was it spectacular. Today, we're breaking it all down. What does it mean for this team going forward? What does it mean for Zach Wilson's future going forward? Welcome in. It is the Jake Asman Show. My name is Jake Asman for a Monday, November 1st, 2021. Jets yesterday upset the Cincinnati Bengals 34-31. We're talking about it right here on the show. Joining me today is a guest that's been on the show plenty of times. You listen to his work on the Turn on the Jets podcast. You read his work at turnonthejets.com. He is Will Parkinson, and he joins me right now. Will, you were at the game. Can you believe it? Mike White, it was an experience unlike anything the Jet fan has seen in a very, very long time.
It was definitely a fun Sunday. It was interesting. The first drive, obviously they're going down each throw. Everyone's like, okay, all right, like this is interesting. And then you're kind of just waiting for it to end. And they had the two back-to-back interceptions, not his fault, but obviously drop passes or tip balls, and you're like, are you kidding me? Like, and it felt like, all right, this was exciting. The first quarter was cool. At least they were competitive. And then all of a sudden, like, they come out, they score right before the half, and you're like, dude, they could win this game. And then, like, it just kept going. I'm like, he's 240 yards at halftime. And then you don't realize all of a sudden it just starts building and building. And you're like, he's 400 yards and 3 touchdowns. Like, what is going on? So, it was fun. The fans were having a great time yesterday. I think it was coming out. It could not have been more polar opposite feeling Sunday at 4:00 as it was, 7 days ago.
Mike White, 37-45, 405 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Really, the interceptions weren't even bad interceptions. They were on tip passes. Quarterback rating of 107.9. And Will, when you're watching this game, what was just so fascinating to me is when you go back and look at the numbers, it's not like Mike White was chucking the ball downfield. The Jets' biggest completion was 26 yards. So this guy was taking what the defense was giving him. He was playing within the structure of the offense. And this was an offense that was calling plays to the running backs. Mike White was using the checkdowns. It wasn't just, all right, well, nothing's there. Let me try and take a shot downfield. We finally saw what this offense is capable of. And I think LaFleur being up in the coaching booth, I think that made a world of difference. What did you make of just the structure of this offense, the play calling? They look like a different team yesterday.
Yeah, so a couple of interesting things. Zach sat in the booth with LaFleur yesterday, which I think is huge. I think whether it was Flacco or Mike White, this was going to be a really big learning experience for Zach. This offense is meant to make your job easier, and I feel like he almost was – Zach was like – I think we talked about this maybe a couple weeks ago on your show, that Zach was doing all the really hard stuff really well, the rolling out, the broken plays, the deep passes, but was doing a pretty awful job, frankly, of – the short stuff, the screen game, the easy completions. I believe Mike White on throws over 10 yards. There weren't very many, but he was 7 of 8 for 94 yards and 2 touchdowns. And then I think he was 24-28 for like 250 and 2 touchdowns as well in the 0 to 9 yard game. So he was effective at everything. He took a lot of the easy, quick reads. He had some open, guys downfield that he probably could have pushed the ball to. And, he had the one, there was a holding penalty on the Elijah Moore post route. But I don't think it's, some people are like, oh, it's the Mac Jones game, or like what we give Mac Jones a hard time for. Mac Jones, a first round pick. Mike White was in his first start in year 4. He's been a practice squad guy, and he just took what was given to him. It felt like everything yesterday was his footwork was really good. Gave himself a good position to throw every single time. The offense, him being in the booth helps. LaFleur being in the booth helps. I think especially for a first-time play caller, you can see the field a lot better. You see a lot of the veteran guys, Kyle Shanahan, McVay, and Stefanski, all those guys. Those guys have called plays for a long time now, so they kind of know what they're going to get, right? And for LaFleur, he's a super talented guy in terms of the way he was viewed around the league. It was a big hire for the Jets, and just think being on the field, trying to be Zach's QB coach and being the offensive coordinator and not be able to see the field, it definitely hindered him a little bit. But there's been plays that have been open, and it's just the offense executed. And I think, look, that first drive, 10 plays, 75 yards, was really exciting and good to see. But, other than the couple trick plays, yes, obviously that's great to see. And it was nice that, the throwback and then the Philly special, the New York special, whatever you want to call it. Outside of that, it just, when you run a lot of plays, the Jets had 10 more minutes of time of possession, and you can actually open up the playbook. LaFleur can go to these different screens and formations and personnel groupings because you actually have plays to run them. And that's been the biggest thing for me that's really stood out is, like, when this offense can actually hold on to the ball and gain consistent first downs, which Zach Wilson will be fine at, by the way, and I know we'll get to that. There's no QB controversy, but that's what's really going to make this offense come to the next level. And what we've talked about a bunch is like we thought going into the year, like this is the type of games we wanted to see the Jets play, whether they won or lost yesterday. It's obviously great they won. Be competitive, score points, and like show that this offense is working, this quarterback's working. So, it was definitely good for LaFleur to be in the booth and Zach to be able to watch. Look, dude, take that first read quick, throw that screen pass. Like that's 15 yards for you. You don't have to do a lot of work, run out of the pocket and get hit late. That's the stuff that Zach's going to learn. And LaFleur probably was coaching him through up in the booth yesterday.
No doubt. And I think, you're kind of hitting on something. I think Zach getting a chance to see this offense, how it's supposed to be run, and LaFleur obviously calling a totally different game from a different vantage point. I think long-term, that's a really good thing for the Jets because Zach Wilson has all the physical tools to be elite. If he just were to take the check down route more often and take the easy completion, it's going to set up what he does really well, which is throw the deep ball, the off-schedule stuff when he is facing a pass rush. I feel like it's not a bad thing that the Jets are winning games. I had someone on Twitter yesterday trying to tweet me being like, this is the worst thing that could have happened to the Jets because now there's a quarterback controversy. Look, there's no such thing as a bad win when you're a first-year head coach, first-year quarterback, first-year OC. Like that was a culture building type of win. Like that's a foundational type of win for Robert Saleh and his coaching staff. For them to respond after they were absolutely embarrassed by New England last Sunday, for them to respond at home by upsetting the number one seed in the AFC, that's a good thing for this team. And for Robert Saleh, it speaks volumes that he was the coach of this team, that they were able to rebound because let's be real, the past couple of Jet coaches, there's not a chance in hell the Jets would win that game yesterday.
Yeah, it shows you that this young staff is just learning. I think that they're making adjustments. They're figuring out who they are. They had to kind of look at themselves in the mirror. Sometimes, as bad as last week felt, maybe that was good for them. Maybe it's a situation where like, we thought we were doing some things correctly and we thought maybe, this was working and it's not. And it's that self-reflection of, look, they were in the Carolina game. They started slow, but they were in the Carolina game. Denver game sucked, but in hindsight, obviously probably should have been more competitive. The New England game, you can't control the turnovers and you're kind of going through the schedule. You're like, all right, we've been in some games. We won a game. We lost by 3, we lost by 7, whatever. When you get blown out, you kind of have to go back to the drawing board and go, we came out of a bye, like what's going on here? And, maybe it clicked for them. Maybe LaFleur was like, all right, I know he apparently went to Mike White and Zach and was like, I'm just going to cut you guys loose. I think part of that too, and just to kind of finish off that LaFleur point is Connor Rogers is making this point as well. He put so much on Zach's plate. He almost like didn't treat him like a rookie in a great way. I think that's a great compliment to what they feel Zach can handle. But maybe it's scaling it back and go, let's start to take some of the short and intermediate game first and really establish that in the screen game and set up easy throws because we know he can do the difficult. And that's why I think they were so successful yesterday. I just got back to basics of like, let's run the football effectively. Let's and at least not every play is going to be a 5-yard, 10-yard gain, but have some semblance of established run, use teams that are trying to get pressure on us to their disadvantage and take advantage of the holes we have and the matchups we have. And it was like, I know it sounds like, why don't they do that every week? Well, it doesn't, the NFL is really difficult and it doesn't always work every week. And the Jets defense had a couple of drives, they got toasted, but Cincinnati's probably one of the better offenses in all football. I think they were the 5th ranked DVOA. They've got multiple Pro Bowl level receivers. Burrow is really impressive in person. It's the first time I've gotten to see him. And I know he had the interception at the end, but his ability to like kind of stay in the pocket, his eyes downfield and create was really impressive. I know no one wants to hear positive Bengals stuff, but Burrow's really way better than I thought in person. But it's a testament to the coaching staff, right? And like they've beaten Tennessee and Cincinnati, who have gone back-to-back weeks. Since Tennessee's now the number 1 seed in the AFC, like. You don't want to see too many more blowouts. And I think that's, where if the fans want to get to where like that once a year that could happen, you deal with it. Every team's kind of had a bad week, but more consistently games like this where they're competitive, the offense scores points, the defense plays hard, creates turnovers, and you give yourself a chance to win at the end of the game. I do have a couple gripes with the coaching staff, but we can get to that after.
Sure. And just something that was obvious when you watch this game, like they go out there, they take the ball right away. And you could tell early on in this game, that LaFleur was comfortable with Mike White running this offense here. And then you just look at the opening drive, like so many of the big plays were checkdowns or screens, like get the ball to your running backs. Like we heard so much about how this offense utilizes the running back out of the backfield. Well, up until this game yesterday, I mean, Michael Carter and Ty Johnson, they barely would get the ball thrown to them. So it was nice to see, those guys combine for as many catches as they did. So it just felt like whatever adjustments they made, the adjustments we wanted to see post bye week in New England, it took an extra week, but we saw a lot of those adjustments yesterday.
Yeah, 100%. The only thing, I thought that was a good thing too. Like, force teams to tackle you, force teams to make plays, right? Like, you have to put them in conflict. And I think, you watch something that Bengals did really well yesterday is they were anemic energy wise, and you could tell like that the Jets this is a game the Jets could win early, but the play that everyone was ripping Marcus Man, Ashton Davis for, the big bomb and T Higgins down the left side of the field. You put guys in conflict and you make the defense, make a play. And the Jets didn't, obviously. The Bengals did, right? And that's how you create matchups and all these different things. And the Jets, a couple of their different touchdowns, big games, was just like put the ball in Elijah Moore, Michael Carter, and Ty Johnson's hands and force guys to tackle them in the open field and not get flagged for a penalty. And not only did it help them clinch the game, but it also helped them score touchdowns. It also helped them, gain first downs on third and 10. The Jets threw the check down and the backside, and Ty Johnson made one guy miss, and they converted a 3rd and 10. So, I just think that's a testament to them, and they're going to learn. There's 7 games, and these guys are literally all have been coaching in their respective positions for 7 games. Jeff Ulbrich, rookie DC, basically. I'm not counting 6 games last year in Atlanta at the end of the year. Saleh, rookie head coach. LaFleur, rookie OC. So, these guys are learning, and like now it's a test to them, right? You have 4 weeks. Turn around against a team that's 3-5. The Colts have talent, they had expectation, but they have 4 days to go in, and they could stack together wins here going into a Buffalo game where, yes, they're not going to beat. I shouldn't say they're not going to beat obviously Buffalo based on what's happened, but they're going to be massive underdogs the next 2 weeks. But continue to stack competitive games together and just grow as a staff. So as long as they continue to stop kicking the ball, I mean that's my one gripe. I'm sorry, I need to get this in here. Kicking a 55-yarder with a field goal kicker who has been pretty awful all year when you're 1-5 at home on 4th and 5 is bothersome. That's the one thing I'd like to see Saleh continue to get better at. He punts or kicks field goals and opportunities that the NFL doesn't reward people that are passive. The Jets are in a position that they have free reign to be aggressive as much as they want because they are in that rebuilding year, and you can go for 4th down in your own 30 and no one would care. People would be so excited. That's where you continue to engage fans and you show confidence in your offense. It didn't bother me kicking down 24-17. I understood the logic there because you could hold them to a field goal and still, and still go tie the game. But there was a couple other opportunities. Just go for it. Who cares? Go for it. But they scored 5 straight drives. Have to show some faith in your offense and also in your defense that we trust you no matter what, that you're not going to break. So that's the one thing I'd like to see. Otherwise, the staff, I thought, did a really good job yesterday.
We're going to get to the Jets and the Colts here on Thursday. A reminder, if you're just tuning in, to subscribe by hitting the subscribe button on the right-hand side of your screen. To the 100-plus people watching this live, do me a favor. You can help this channel continue to grow by liking this video. That's down below. Just hit that thumbs up icon, and more people will see the video based on the more people that like this video. So thanks to everyone who watches either live or after the fact as we chat here about the Jets' upset win over the Bengals with Will Parkinson from turnonthejets.com. Well, let's get to just the performance of Mike White and how it impacts Zach Wilson's future here. I'm not going to sit here and say quarterback controversy. Mike White's the guy. Let's not be crazy here on the show. But Mike White, if he goes out there on Thursday and looks competent, plays well, I'm not going to sit here and say that's it for Zach Wilson as the Jet quarterback, but it does make you realize, all right, well, we don't need to rush to put Zach Wilson back out there until he's 100% healthy. So Mike White playing well is good long-term for the franchise because it creates competition. And then also it means the Jets aren't inclined to rush Zach Wilson back. So that's kind of where I'm at. Like, to me, play Mike White for as long as he's playing well. And I think it's a good thing, just like you do, that they're playing on a short week on Thursday. It doesn't give the Jets that much time to read their press clippings and listen to everyone talk about how good they are now, right? They got to get right into game mode. They play Thursday night, and it doesn't give the Colts that many days to prepare for Mike White either.
Yeah, it's interesting. So I've seen a lot of different takes on this, and from people I highly respect, and other people that are just fans that are mentions and things of that nature. And the Jets have long searched for one quarterback, let alone having two potentially competent quarterbacks on their roster, I think is not a bad thing to have happen. If Mike White, if we learned anything yesterday, it's that the Jets have a backup quarterback, a legitimately effective and solid backup quarterback that could come in and win them a football game if Zach Wilson goes down. That's a huge thing in the NFL, and they have lost their last 14 games with a backup in. Jets fans can go back to Chad Pennington getting hurt and Brooks Bollinger coming in, or Trevor Siemian, or Luke Falk, and just the list goes on, or even Joe Flacco, who had one or two nice moments last year, but was pretty not great overall. Does that trade look stupid now? Whatever. I don't even want to. It doesn't matter. That's not really relevant. Even Josh Johnson, by the way, almost threw a touchdown yesterday, so that was pretty cool.
Mims should have caught it. That hit him in the
he
head.
should have caught that. I know. I was tough because Mims had a nice day yesterday, actually, and played the most offensive snaps of any receiver. So it's unfortunate, but whatever. Look, I think you play Mike White this week. If they win this week, I think you don't rush Jack back for Buffalo. You give him one more week and you let, Mike White, go out there. You're probably going to be down George Fan unless, he gets good positive news. That didn't look great yesterday. Chumadoga was fine, but, against Buffalo, who's a really good team, obviously you don't want to risk your franchise quarterback too soon. I mean, I would say Zach either plays Buffalo or Miami. But yeah, you ride the hot hand right now. You let it go. And it's a young team. There's no reason to rush Zach back. When Zach's ready to go, you put him back out there. Hopefully he's learned and taken, kind of steps back, learn the offense, continue to learn the offense better. Shit takes the short stuff. It fixes the mechanics up a little bit, has confidence in that knee that it's going to hold up. But, to sit there and say the Jets have a quarterback controversy, I don't know that they have a controversy. I actually think it's a first world problem to have. You have a 22-year-old top 5 pick that showed some flashes but is injured. You have a backup quarterback who no one expected anything out of and just threw for 405 yards and 3 touchdowns. So, and showed he could run the offense. So, I know people, trade Mike White for a 1. What do we do? Why? What are you doing? Then the Jets are going to have to solve this problem all over again. So I don't know why we're doing this, but you ride the hot hand for right now, because especially if Mike White plays well and they beat Indy, it's really hard to now go, okay, let's rush Zach back from an injury. That's probably your 4-week injury that could play at 2. And rush him back for a Buffalo game that they'll probably likely lose. But at least you give Mike White, you let him, he earned his spot for right now. And then you bring Zach back. Zach's the quarterback of the future. His ceiling's incredibly high. He's going to fix some of that stuff that, he wasn't seeing early on. You revert back to that nature. Look, Mahomes is struggling with it right now. He was really good at throwing over the middle of the field and that short intermediate game, and he got back to the Texas Tech way of having to hit the home run, right? And that's what it almost felt like. Zach didn't trust his eyes, didn't want to throw that short stuff, and where he feels most comfortable is roll out of the pocket, throw the deep ball. So yeah, I was really impressed with what I saw from Mike White. I thought he did a really good job again of taking what was given, but also putting some velocity and zip on balls that needed it, and some curl flat concepts, the seam ball, the stick knot he hits for Tyler Kroft in the end zone was really good work from him to, look the safety off and, hit Kroft and get him wide open. So, he did some really good things. I think this week will be a good test. Let's see how Indy adapts to them. I think the short week does benefit the Jets. Carson Wentz had a disaster of a fourth quarter. They lost probably the biggest game of their season, and now have 2.5 games back at Tennessee. Again, we'll see what happens. The Jets are still, they're still massive underdogs, according to Vegas. But we'll see. Mike White moved the line 4 points today, so he's shown some competence more than most quarterbacks.
Right, and you just look at Indy, by the way, because they lost to Tennessee again yesterday. It's really an extra game that they're behind because they've lost both matchups now to the Tennessee Titans. So, the Colts could be completely out of the mix for their own division already in week 9 of the NFL, which I don't know how many people saw that coming going into the year. But Will, to your point on just Mike White playing well, I think this is why so many fans like to see a quarterback sit for a little bit before they get thrust in there, right? Mike White, even though it was his first career start yesterday, he's 25 years old and he was drafted in 2018. So even though he had not started a game in the NFL, he'd been on teams the last couple of years. He has seen a lot of different looks being a scout team quarterback in this league for 3+ seasons going into this year. So, this is a guy that has seen a lot. I'm telling you, if Mike White was just to rust in there like Zach Wilson was as a rookie from week 1 on, he's not capable of that type of performance, which is why I say all that to say maybe Zach's sitting for these couple games while he's injured and gets time to fully heal, watch this offense from up in the coaching booth with LaFleur. I think this long term could be a really good thing for Zach Wilson.
Yeah, I mean, look, it didn't end up working out with Sam, but we saw Sam play really well. We got to sit back and watch Josh McCown kind of do the little things better. Sam had a similar issue where he kind of reverted back to that off script, kind of got happy feet in the pocket and didn't trust everything around him. And then all of a sudden when he came back, he looked really sharp. And I feel like the Jets fans obviously held on to, those 3 or 4 weeks in December of 2018 for a long time. And the reason Sam would, be good eventually. But no, I don't see why this hurts Zach Wilson. The only situation I know, me and DJ were talking about this last night, that I think the only situation which is frustrating, that because people react how people will react, is if Mike White plays really well and they rush Zach back for Buffalo, and then Zach does not do well against the Bills, who are a really, really good football team. People want, the Nick Foles, Carson Wentz thing to happen. Again, the Eagles won a Super Bowl, by the way, so I don't think anyone in that situation is complaining.
Right.
And this is not that situation. I'm just saying, we've seen this, in the past. They're Kirk Cousins and RG3 and things of that nature, where, a guy gets hurt and a backup plays really well and forces teams to make decisions. I think this in the long run will benefit Zach a lot, actually, again, as well, just from a confidence perspective. This guy, I have way more talent than this guy, and I could then look how he threw for 400 yards and an 85% completion percentage. And now if I just trust myself and trust my eyes, the O-line's been playing much better. They don't handle stunts really well at all, but other than that, yesterday they did fine. AVT's a stud, there's a lot of good things happening around him. Elijah Moore finally got really involved. They dumped the ball off to Michael Carter and Ty Johnson. He's got to see this stuff and say, I could trust my guys. I don't have to do this all on my own and be a hero. And long term, this will be good for him. In the short term, trade Zach, or, Mike White's the future. Maybe, but right now it's Zach. Zach Wilson's the Jets starter, and their backup played an awesome football game against the number 1 seed in the AFC, and they won a football game. That's great. Being up in the booth, I think, also will help Zach. You just see the field. You see the field so much differently, and you can go, oh wow, I had this guy, or I can see things that I could do better and move around in. And Zach, there's a couple moments yesterday. Again, if Zach's playing, frankly, they probably get a much bigger gain on a couple plays that Mike White scrambled out and didn't, obviously doesn't trust his, more of his athletic ability from a running perspective, where Zach maybe takes off or something like that. But other than that, I just think you got to take this all with positivity. The Jets have not had these problems in a long time. And I don't think I want to complain about the Jets having an issue of too many players in one position than not enough, which has been the last probably 15, 20 years.
I also like the fact, too, that after the game, they asked Saleh, what happens if Mike White continues to play well? Because it's not crazy to think that the Jets could beat Indianapolis on Thursday night. It's really not. The Colts should not be 10.5-point favorites right now. I mean, they're a good team.
Dude, they were 14-point favorites yesterday. That's insane. They're crazy. 3-5.
Yeah, I'm not going to make a pick just yet. I got to break down this game a little more. But, I mean, right now, if I'm making a pick, I'm taking the Jets with the points to cover that, because that seems way too high. Because I think the Jets, they're going to play hard for Saleh. I think the New England game, hopefully, we learned yesterday, was the outlier in this season. But I like afterwards, Saleh's asked if it's possible that, that Mike White could be the guy going forward for this team. And he left it open-ended, which I think is smart. He says, we'll go day to day, but anything's possible, right? Anything's possible. And that's what you should be saying, because it sends the right message to the football team that it doesn't really matter where you come from. If you're a 5th-round pick, if you're the 2nd overall pick, the best players should play. And competition to me is a good thing. Saleh was even asked about, well, did you expect this? Mike White came out of nowhere. And he's like, well, that's the NFL. It's all about opportunity. You take advantage of your opportunity. That's why you see guys, come out of nowhere and have long careers in the league. So I just think Zach Wilson getting a chance to see Mike White push him. Competition is a really good thing. And Will, you played football in college. You could speak to that. Competition brings out the best in everyone, including the quarterback spot.
Yeah. At the end of the day, I think, if Zach couldn't handle the competition, then that would be a larger issue. I think this is a good thing. You want Zach to go, and this was kind of the reason I think everyone got so frustrated about the veteran backup and having someone that was proven was, Zach all the first team reps from day one. And, I don't know, obviously I was at practice a bunch. I thought Mike White was fine. I thought he was he was solid. I thought he looked decent, and it was good that he beat out James Morgan to show that pick A sucked, and B, he was able to, whatever, go through that. But yeah, I think this there should be, again, this is a positive for Zach. Be look, take that as someone lighting, a fire under your butt a little bit. I don't know. I don't want to, whatever, but I think that's a good thing, right? Like, okay, like I see what this guy could do. Like I want to go back and I want to earn this a little bit. And I think that's what, made Zach have such a good junior year was, he dealt with a little bit of injuries and, other quarterbacks got to play a little bit of sophomore year and Zach struggled. And then all of a sudden he kind of like got that competition, won the job and took off from there. So sometimes it's nice to just kind of refresh, sit back, refresh. There's good, good vibes around the team. The Jets learning how to win a game and come from behind and winning that game. They didn't lose the game. Tennessee was an impressive victory, but it felt like the Jets kind of almost threw that game away like 4 or 5 times. This felt the direct opposite. The Jets went and like took that game from the Bengals. So I think this is good, good for Zach's future overall. And it's good for the Jets' future. The Jets were able to win a game with their backup quarterback looking really like a really good NFL quarterback yesterday. So the offense I felt like looked a little bit like the way that the Niners did 2 years ago with Jimmy G, where like when Jimmy was playing his, probably his best football of his career, that, screen passes, taking those good reads, 0 to 9 yards. And then when he needed to push the ball a little bit, he was able to, not making those killer mistakes, but, putting guys in good positions to be successful. So I liked what I saw yesterday. And I think I like where the direction the Jets are going, right now, especially knowing they have a starter and a backup quarterback of the future.
No doubt. And I also think, just looking at this offense, like not having Corey Davis, of course you want your number one receiver out there, but it forced the Jets to really open up the whole offense. It forced Mike White to go through all his reads, use the check down. It felt like when Zach Wilson was in there, a lot of times he'd be too Corey Davis dependent and he would not necessarily go through, the entire play, the entire sequence in the offense. So maybe Corey Davis being out also a slight blessing in disguise for this team to realize, all right, Corey Davis is good, but we don't need to be so Corey Davis dependent in order for this offense to have success.
Yeah, it's something that I know Zach got asked about, and I liked his answer, but I don't take too much stock in what some of these guys say in pressers. He's like, oh yeah, I look for everybody and whatever. But as a young quarterback, everyone has a security blanket, right? And even any quarterback in general, like it felt like the last couple of years, whenever Sam felt like he was in trouble, he's going to Crowder no matter what, like open or not, that's what he's going to go to. Or, we can go through a million different examples. Obviously, Drew Brees in the past, if he felt he's in trouble, he's throwing to Michael Thomas because he trusts him and that's what he knows. And Zach Corey, they've had, had the most reps together, obviously, throughout camp, and Elijah missed time and Mims and all these guys. But yeah, I think it was nice to see the Jets use all of like these really young players that in creative ways. They got Braxton Berrios targets that didn't feel manufactured for Braxton. It was like, we're going to get him open. He's going to make a play, and we're going to use his skill set really well, his ability to run routes in the slot and end arounds. And Elijah, we got him out on the perimeter, and none of them really popped. And he had that little rookie mistake running out of bounds when they were trying to kill time, but. One of those will pop, and they got him involved in the slot. They spread the ball out. They used Crowder in a good way. Obviously, the turnover, Crowder's probably responsible really for 2 turnovers, but he played really well. Or Mims, they got him involved a little bit. So yeah, I thought it was just interesting that when they had Corey Davis out, like the offense and Zach Wilson out, the team began to kind of perform better. So we'll see what happens going forward, but. I think Davis likely will play Thursday. I think the hope was, talking to some people, I think Bryce Huff was held out as kind of a precaution to make sure he was able to go Thursday, which means the Jets view this as a somewhat winnable game. Corey Davis is probably likely the same. So getting Mosley back, Davis back, other Corey Davis back, those things would be, huge for them. Obviously George Fant's the one injury, but other than that, getting some of these guys back, in addition to the good momentum they're having, is all positive stuff that people should be excited about, not upset about.
You look at this game yesterday too, Will. Yesterday was a great win for Joe Douglas. Like, look at the impact on some of his players that directly led to the win. Like, you look at offense, obviously, Michael Carter leads the Jets in catches. He has 95 receiving yards. He also has 77 yards on the ground. So that was by far and away his best performance of his young NFL career. You look at some of the other guys. Elijah Moore had his best game as a pro. We saw Denzel Mims get involved, another draft pick by Joe Douglas. Keelan Cole should have had an unbelievable one-handed touchdown. He was involved. Tyler Kroft caught the game-winning score. That was a Joe Douglas signing. So offensively, Joe Douglas's impact over this roster was on full display. And then defensively, we haven't even mentioned just the dominant performance of Bryce Hall, holding Jamar Chase to just 3 catches for 30-something yards. I know he scored a touchdown, but still, just a phenomenal job by by Hall. You look at some of the other moves on this defense. I mean, Joe Douglas's fingerprints, and we can criticize him for some moves, but you got to give credit where credit's due. The Jets general manager's impact was felt all over that game yesterday.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's like some of the guys, you're just seeing this 2021 class specifically really stand out. And then, Bryce Hall's been really good for this team. He's got the one catch he gave up to T. Higgins. I don't even think that was a catch. I thought I saw the ball hit the ground. Obviously, the NFL doesn't review it. Saleh, I thought was going to challenge, did not. And then, obviously the Keelan Cole one gets overturned, which was super frustrating because zero consistency with that. But and the refs have been awful all year. It's been one of the worst seasons I've ever seen since like the replacement refs with these calls, the roughing the passers, what's not, what is. The Jets got very lucky, helmet to helmet on a normal tackle where I don't know what you want the guy to do. The Jets got to break their way though for once. But yeah, Joe Douglas, look, he had the Tony Pauline article, or Pauline, however you pronounce the last name, was pretty brutal to a pretty brutal read. And, midweek. And I was like, this is really concerning. Or maybe it was Friday. And it's like, Douglas doesn't know what he's doing in free agency, and the draft picks have been bad, and Becton's lazy, and they don't like Zach, and Saleh overworks guys. I'm like, this is the article it's leaking. We haven't had any leaks come out of the Jets organization since this regime took over, and this is the first one that was like, this is pretty ugly. Obviously, a lot of that's conjecture, and it's based off you don't know who the sources are in these things and the truth about it. But the point is, the narrative changes very quickly in 3 days. Joe Douglas goes from being a moron who doesn't know how to pay free agents and he's cheap to, he traded a 6th-round pick for Shaq Lawson, who got them in position to win a game. They traded they were able to bring in, Michael Carter in the 4th round, who had 170 yards and, a touchdown and looked really good in the pass game and the run game. Bryce Hall held Jamar Chase to, overall, in his cover with him, or Jamar Chase had his worst game as a pro, or all these different situations. Jared Davis was fine yesterday. I mean, he definitely is not great in coverage, which is what everyone knew, but strong tackling, had some good moments. Quinton Williams was good. Sheldon Rankins, a Joe Douglas signing. Sheldon Rankins was awesome yesterday. Could not have been better. So you got to give him credit where credit is due, like you mentioned. Elijah looked good, or the list goes on. AVT looks more and more like that pick was such a, they traded a 3rd-round pick for a guard. Well, cool, dude, because that guard's going to be a Pro Bowler for a long time. Yeah. If he continues on this trajectory. So again, I like, Tyler Kroft touchdown yesterday, and he was a Joe Douglas signing that, he's not something special, but he's fine. So,
even Zuniga had a sack.
Yeah.
Yesterday.
Oh, that was crazy. I tweeted somewhat as a joke. Yes, on Saturday, I'm like, he's active. He's going to have his best game. The Bengals Bengals pass blocking offense is not very good. And I was like, whatever. Let's see what happens. You never know. Saleh's really great with D linemen. Not sack, forced fumble. He's flying around. He's 60-something PFF grade. I'm like, what is that? What is happening? But you got to give Joe Douglas credit when it's due, and you got to just hope that when Zach comes back then, and a few, and Corey Davis, you're going to see this offense kind of really hit full throttle and see more performances like this where you go, we have a pretty good core group. We need to add a right guard, a center, a tight end, and another receiver. But other than that, we look pretty good. And that's what you want to see when all these guys are 25, 24, 23 years old.
No doubt about it. We got 241 people watching live right now. If you're tuning in for the first time, do me a favor, and you like the Jets, you like Jets content, hit the subscribe button on the right-hand side of your screen. If you're already subscribed and you're wondering, well, how can I help Jake Asman and this channel continue to grow? Very easy. All you have to do is like this video, hit the thumbs up icon down below. More likes means more engagement, means the YouTube algorithm shows the videos to more and more people. So thanks to everyone who's watching live or after the fact. Will, let's end with this, because I think it's a very interesting storyline now, considering the Jets play on Thursday and they're coming off a win. NFL trade deadline is tomorrow at 4 Eastern. Do you think this win changes anything the Jets might do at the deadline? And how do you think playing on Thursday night also impacts how aggressive or lack thereof the Jets will be at this deadline?
So I still think the same guys that are always continue to get floated will be floated again. I really don't see them trading Marcus May. I think they probably tried to at one point. I don't see that the value is there right now. They've got the pending DUI potentially. I think Marcus May wants to be here, and he's made that pretty clear. I think that he wants to also get paid. And when the Jets are 0-3 and they're getting blown out, he's probably like, dude, like what's happening? They've won 2 of their, 2 of 4. They've been competitive in 3 of the games. I think it's easy kind of to settle with that stuff. So, I mean, maybe he gets moved, but I don't see it. Crowder and Keelan Cole are 2 receivers that could potentially get moved. I just don't see them taking away reps. I mean, help from Zach. Then I could be wrong. I could see them, maybe a team gets desperate here with any injuries to come out. Like the Titans, Adam Schefter just floated Tevin Coleman's name as a potential to the Titans. If the Jets can get value for Tevin Coleman somewhere between a 4 and a 6 round pick, great. He's played 2 games. He's had a good kickoff return. He had a one nice, run in Tennessee to ice the game. But, if you get value for him, recoup one of the picks you traded for Lawson and Flacco, that's great. That's a win. Again, some other depth pieces, people have suggested Morgan Moses. That's not going to happen. Becton's probably still 2 or 3 weeks away. Fant looks like he's pretty banged up, so they're not going to trade their starting right tackle there. Of the other guys, I'm just trying to think throughout the roster. I don't see where you have positions where you can really, move guys. I think yesterday's result changed it. Maybe some of the injuries that did or did not happen changed. Like I said, Fant, not getting hurt now puts them in a position. They have 2 active tackles on the roster, which is going to need to obviously get addressed this week. Or, Crowder being really, really effective for Mike White, especially in this offense. Like you saw yesterday, like you need guys that can operate over the middle of the field. So this team wants to win. I think they know they're rebuilding, but this front office and this coaching staff is not trying to lose. Last year, I think Douglas knew, like, we're going to test these guys and we're going to blow it up, and they obviously did. That's a little different. Joe Douglas does not have the authority or the ability right now to be tossing games away and taking pieces. Again, if there's a couple of guys, those guys I mentioned, Crowder, Cole, potentially, and then Marcus May, maybe, or Tevin Coleman, just because they might not be here long term. But generally, I don't see the Jets really buying or selling. If anything, it's gonna be minimal moves, similar to guys that acquired for 5th, 6th, 7th round picks. Nothing. Maybe they can flip Flacco for a 6th to New Orleans.
You bring that up, but I think coming off a win and the fact they play Thursday, I don't know if they want to upset the apple cart, so to speak, inside the locker room by trading a Crowder if they get an offer, or trading a Marcus May. So I don't think they're going to do much. They have 7 picks in the first 4 rounds already. You could always get more draft picks, sure, but Crowder's such a good player for this team. He fits this offense right now, so why move him unless you're just getting this Kachunga offer that I don't know exists? Marcus May had a good game yesterday. The DUI stuff, his salary, I think makes him pretty hard to trade, so I'd be surprised.
He's owed $6.5 million still, which if you're a contender, most of those teams are up against the cap already. Right. So it'd be very difficult for a team I don't think the Jets are going to sit there and eat cash unless they were going to you eat his salary and you get an extra, an additional pick or something. But these guys, that's the teams that are making moves at the deadline are usually making moves to try to go win a Super Bowl. And the only guys in the roster that would move any type of needle are Crowder and May, both of whom Crowder's contract's very tradable, but he's really important to their young quarterbacks. And May has a massive salary, all things considered, for a contender. So, yeah, I totally agree with you.
Yeah, and then, you mentioned Joe Flacco. I mean, look, if they could trade Joe Flacco to the Saints for a 5th round pick, you actually gained a higher draft pick in the process. They're trading a conditional 6 to get back a 5th. So, I mean, I'd be open to it because clearly Mike White now is this team's long-term backup, and we'll see what happens with Thursday night. But, you have Mike White, Zach Wilson's coming back. He's your future. I mean, if they could get anything for Joe Flacco, I think you might do it if you're the Jets.
If Joe Douglas is able to win a trade with Joe Flacco, I would be very impressed.
Is he not better than Trevor Siemian, Joe Flacco?
No, I think he probably is. It's funny, all 3 of the Jets quarterbacks on their 2019 roster yesterday, they went 3-0. Siemian, Darnold, and what's it called, Mike White. So pretty impressive. Adam Gase must have known.
Where's Luke Falk at? He couldn't factor into any of the games yesterday?
He's probably on the street watching the Knicks game with a bunch of the other Knicks fans on Side Talk and saying screw Tom Brady. So
there you go. Bing bong for all my fellow Nick fans out there. All right, well, this has been a ton of fun, man. I want to thank you so much for coming on the show. For anyone just tuning in live or after the fact, Will, give people an idea where they can listen to your podcast and where they can read your work.
Yeah, so turnonthejets.com, Turn on the Jets on Apple, Spotify, Google Play, anywhere you get your podcast. Tomorrow it's going to be coming out recap of obviously everything that happened. It's going to be a pretty long episode just because it's a recap of everything that happened, yesterday. We have a bunch of preview stuff for Indy, and then Kerry Rhodes hops on with me for about 30, 40 minutes, talks a lot of the Jamal Adams stuff he was talking about and his time with the Jets and, what they need to do from a rebuilding perspective. So that's going to be pretty cool. Articles, the weekly articles, so all that stuff. And then Will Pa 11 on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Will PA 11. So, check it out. We got some great content, and appreciate you, having me on as always.
Absolutely. Let me tell you, these are way more fun after a win than they are after a loss. So I
think we did this after the last Patriots game, week 2, which was not quite as fun.
No doubt about that. He's Will Parkinson. My name is Jake Asman. This is the Jake Asman Show. If you're new to the channel, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button on the right-hand side of your screen or like this video. It's easy. It's free. All you got to do is click that thumbs up icon, and that's a like. That's like paying me for doing this video. It's free, though. So thanks so much to everyone who took time to watch. He's Will Parkinson. My name is Jake Asman. This has been the Jake Asman Show. Jet fans, enjoy a Victory Monday for a change. How about that? We do it all over again on Thursday night in Indianapolis. Enjoy your day, and we'll talk soon. Thanks for watching the video. Have a good day, everybody. See ya.